Yeah.
And if there was no me, there was no grapes. So I was useful.
Okay, sure.
In this video, we're going to share our birth story of our firstborn.
Which went surprisingly well considering it's my first delivery.
And the baby came within 1 hour of Victoria being admitted into the hospital.
So we'll share the whole process up until that, and also our one regret, which resulted in me having to stay in the hospital for a bit more than 24 hours. What was the first thing that you remember about the whole process?
Oh, well, the first thing that I remember is definitely not the first thing that you remember, because the first thing for me was you having contractions overnight.
Okay.
But I think you said your contractions started the night before.
Okay, so my contractions started at 10 a.m. On, I don't know, Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday. And when it first started, I actually didn't know it was contractions. It just felt like the baby was like stretching my belly. And so but it was a new sensation. So obviously I went to Google. I mean, I've already asked my friends before what contractions felt like, but I mean, there's just so many phases, like a couple phases of like the whole process, right? So
it might be different between each woman too.
Yeah, so like normally women wouldn't tell you the very first feeling they would get. So I'm telling you now, it felt like someone was stretching your belly, or something was stretching your belly. So I thought like, oh, maybe, is it like a cramp? Did I just like sit in a weird position? So obviously I started Googling things, and I was wondering, was it maybe Braxton Hicks? Everything on the internet and what I've heard didn't really match with what I was feeling. A lot of things said that it felt like pain radiating to the back, and it didn't really feel like that. Again, it just felt like something was stretching. And then, so that was around 10 a.m. and that would happen around like every hour or so. And then what kind of made me think, oh, maybe it really are contractions, was when I got the mucus plug, which was probably sometime in the early afternoon. So if you don't know what mucus plug is, you should look it up, because, well, I mean, it's just kind of like a slimy thing that comes out.
I didn't know about this.
I feel like I told you,
No,
but
definitely not.
I feel like I told him, but yeah, so I Googled that too, because none of the prep classes really told me about much about that or what to expect. But I didn't know there was a thing that happens when your delivery was soon going to happen. And the baby arrived 4 days before my due date, so just giving you some context of that. Yeah, so the contractions continued to happen about like once every hour or so. I even made dinner that night all by myself for like 6 adults. And you know, I made dinner.
Was I at work?
No, you were at home.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure you were at home. Yeah. And then
That makes me feel better.
so I mean, I just remember making dinner, but then at the times when the contractions would happen, I would just kind of sit down and like wait it out, and it wasn't even that bad. It just felt like mild menstrual cramps. So it was about 8 p.m., 9 p.m. that night when I started timing it, and by then it was around every like 20 minutes or so. So
I don't think I was aware of this either. Like, you started timing it the night before?
yeah, I mean, it was that night. And then
I think you were timing it on your own.
Yeah, I was timing it on my own for sure, because I wasn't even sure at that point.
Tell your husband, everybody, when you're feeling something.
I did. I really did, though. You just don't remember. So it was at that night at 1 a.m., which I was like, okay, these are for sure contractions, because they've...
What made you for sure?
I think they just like escalated a little bit more so that it was more obvious. Before, I was still not sure. I was still thinking like maybe they're just cramps, maybe they're Braxton Hicks.
Cramps for your period that you haven't had in 9 months?
Yeah, so maybe they're Braxton Hicks. I don't know. And again, I was trying to tell you that not like what I was feeling didn't match with what people said or like what the internet said. So anyway, at like 1 a.m. I remember texting my friends saying like, oh yeah, I think I'm in labor now. And then I remember around 2 a.m. So my sister was with us during that time because she wanted to be there when the baby arrived. So I remember waking her up because, okay, my thinking for not waking Andrew up is that first delivery is going to take a long time.
This is a pro tip.
It's going to take a long time, like I've heard, days, right? So you want your husband to be most energetic and rested for the actual delivery when you're in active labor, when the baby's about to come out. You know, you don't want him to be groggy and like super tired during that point. So
were we aware that I was allowed to come into the labor room at this point?
Yeah, so
because of COVID?
Yeah, so we knew that we were able to bring one person into the delivery room. So I knew that Andrew was going to be my person, my birthing partner. Some people have like doulas and everything like that, or you know, their mom and sister, but I wanted Andrew to be there since we only were allowed one person. So I wanted him to be I was gonna say alive, but awake and alert and
I was alive,
participating. So yeah, that's why I didn't wake him up right away. I got my sister to wake up with me. She started having my contractions. They were still pretty mild. I wouldn't say like not mild, but like medium, I would say. So she would help me like pack my last minute things for my my delivery bag. Around 2 a.m. I vomited. So that's like maybe one of the things that would happen, because a lot of feelings are happening in the abdomen area. So I felt like nauseous all of a sudden and just like threw up. So that's when I knew, okay, like contractions are really happening. Although I was getting a little bit, not like scared, but like thinking, oh no, I'm such a wimp, because my contractions literally just started happening for real around 1 a.m. and I'm already vomiting. Like I just vomited once, but that's when it prompted us to call the hospital, because you want to call them so that they know who's out there, who's potentially going to come in for that night. I knew that like I was going to go in for like hours. It's just that to make sure, you know, they know and we're all good. So I remember calling and for them saying like, well, obviously you want to stay at home as long as you can, which I totally agree. I want to stay home.
It's more comfortable.
Yeah, it's just more comfortable to stay at home. You don't feel like pressure. You don't feel like you're in a new environment, right? And the nurse was asking me like, oh, have you tried any pain management things? And I was saying like, no, I really didn't. So
this is on the phone, right?
Yeah, so I was just saying like, yeah, for sure, like I'll keep trying to manage the pain first. And yeah, so that was like 2 a.m. and I remember waking you up at 4 a.m. And
so you didn't take any pain management things at 2 a.m.?
No, I didn't. Because like, so what happened was that actually the whole entire process, I didn't take any pain management.
Yeah, that's the whole process. Not even any like
things.
Not even like
I don't know.
Natural stuff.
Not really. So we'll talk about that in a bit. But the whole time I was basically just trying to sleep, and
Let
doing
your body do its thing.
Yeah, like doing hypnobirthing as well. But really doing hypnobirthing, I was listening to the tracks as I was sleeping and going in and out of contractions.
Hypnobirthing is a whole other discussion.
Yeah, so like we probably have to talk about hypnobirthing in another video. They suggest a lot of like birthing positions and methods of breathing, but I really just found most helpful for me was hearing and being like ingrained into my brain before the delivery process of how like I was meant to do this, it's gonna work, it's gonna be fine, and like my body knows what's happening. So just kind of like lean into the pain and the contractions rather than having a reaction of like clenching or like kind of retracting and rejecting that pain. So,
well, I mean, it's pretty interesting even from like a scientific perspective, because hypnobirthing kind of addresses the fact that, well, it's kind of the opposite of placebo effect. So what they call it is the nocebo effect, and basically when you're prepared to do something, or when you're about to do something and you're expecting it to go bad and you have fear and anxiety, the evidence shows that it actually goes worse than if you weren't told that you should be fearful or anxious about it. So the whole idea of hypnobirthing is to convince your brain that it's going to be okay. Yeah, so that's a big part of it, and I think it really helped for me. Obviously, it's not so like simple and straightforward for everyone, right? So yeah, for me, I just use the tracks. I would start listening to the hypnobirthing tracks just on Spotify, about week like 30, 35. We'll put the playlist in the description.
And I would just listen to it as I go to bed so that I would associate those tracks with just relaxation. So as I was in labor, I would be reminded to relax through those tracks. So yeah, that really helped. And another thing that really confused me was I just didn't know really when to call or go to the hospital. My water never broke. And then the other thing was that my contractions, even from like 1 a.m., it was already every like 5 minutes or so. So it kind of already matched the timing that they say we should go into the hospital. That 511 rule, like contractions every 5 minutes, and it's an.
Well, it wasn't happening at that rhythm yet.
It was
That's why they told you to stay home.
Yeah, but it was also like already really similar. So I remember even my sister was like, I don't know what to do because like your contractions already seemed like the number that
I think the other
tell
thing
us.
was it was also very inconsistent. So sometimes it's like
yeah.
the 5-1 run rule, and like one of them, it is, what is it, 1 minute long?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so sometimes they're 1 minute long, but other
Sometimes
times
they're
they're like
longer.
3 minutes long.
Yeah.
So like, are you in that 1 minute stage or in the 3 minute stage?
Yeah. So anyway, I basically just labored on my bed, just lying on my side. And then there was at one point, I think it was probably around 6 a.m. when I decided I should probably go like labor on the bathroom. I just felt like I needed to like poo and pee. And that's what like people say contractions feel like, right? Like it felt like that pressure down there. I also want to mention like I was really sensitive to sound. So at one point, like, I don't know, at 5 a.m. when you woke up, or 6, sometime he was trying to make breakfast, and I was kind of in the other room, and I just got so annoyed of all the okay, it wasn't.
I wasn't even loud. I was just like pouring a bowl of cereal or something.
How loud he was. So that was something that I also didn't expect. Some people want their birth partners to be really active and like encourage them. I didn't want anyone to say anything or make any sound. So that was it for me. And I just remember being so annoyed at Andrew. Like at one point I would just like see him sitting there and I'd just be like, I hate you right now for just sitting there and not having like any pain and getting me into this. So you probably will experience that.
I guess it's not false that I got her into it.
Yeah. And he's just sitting there. Anyway. I started like laboring on the toilet for a bit, and by that point, it was pretty like intense, where I remember getting from the bed to the bathroom, I would basically like almost need you to carry me. Like I was really weak, I would say. Mm-hmm. And kind of like in the days, like...
Well, what time are we at now? This is like 7 a.m.?
Probably, 6 or 7 a.m.
So you're basically up all night.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, but between contractions, I would really try to sleep, and I was in and out of consciousness of, like, sleeping. So that was good, because, again, my thinking was that this process is gonna take, like, a couple days, so I have to, like, make sure I'm rested as much as possible. Again, I really just want to stay home as long as possible, right? Like, my worst fear in the whole thing was that I'll have to make the trip to the hospital, which is, like, 10 minutes, and then they're gonna tell me I'm only 3 centimeters dilated, and they're gonna have to send me back home. And like that just sounded terrible.
So I think I called the nurse. I don't remember the time. You said 9 a.m. But we were at the point where Victoria was in too much pain, and we wanted to see what the nurse said.
Yeah.
So I called the hospital, and then I explained the situation, and the nurse was like, "I can't disclose any information to you, and I need to speak with your wife." And I was like, okay, but she is really not in a condition to speak, so can you advise me on what to tell her? She's like, nope, sorry, I can't, I need to speak with her. So I was like, okay. So I just came downstairs to Victoria, and I didn't even get to her yet, and Victoria was already screaming. I just held the phone, and she was like, okay, sounds like she's ready to come in. Take the phone back, take the phone back. I was like, okay.
Okay, wait. I wasn't like screaming.
You weren't screaming, but it was loud enough that the nurse could hear.
Like when he was just like this. I do want to say, like, I don't, like, throughout the whole process, I never screamed. I think, like, my...
Yeah, not top of the lungs.
Yeah, like, it was not like on the TV when
I'm discomfort, like...
I was, like, more like discomfort moaning / crying, like, whimpering. Like, that's how I was during my contractions. So, yeah, she said, like, okay, you're ready to come in now. But I remember still being kind of skeptical and being like, no. It's only been, like, 1 a.m. and it's only been now, like, 9 a.m.-ish. Like, it's only been 8 hours. Like, I've heard that it will take up to 24 hours, right?
Up to 20.
No, average 24 hours. It was around like 9:30 a.m. when Andrew's like, I think you really should go in. So I was like, okay, fine. Get the car ready, line it with towels, and the car ride wasn't terrible. It
wasn't bad. It was fine.
Yeah, but in my mind, I was like, it's gonna be terrible.
In your mind it was terrible.
Yeah, because I had to sit up, in the car. I had to see the sights of the outside world, and it was just not what I wanted to go through.
It was also only like a 10-minute drive for us, so it wasn't too bad.
Okay, so I also got Andrew to help me press some acupoints in the car that would help with pain and good for the delivery.
Yeah, so her dad drove us.
Yeah,
and I sat in the back with her.
Which was really helpful, and I actually got through the car ride, and the pain was actually better with the pressing of the acupoint. So when we got into the hospital, we got dropped off, and right at the entrance there was a volunteer. Basically, he was to make sure the right people could go into the hospital and direct people where to go. So I knew that going in, I would be the only one who was able to go up to the delivery ward.
You knew that ahead of time?
I knew that because the hospital told us.
Oh yeah, that's right. They told us on the phone.
Yeah, and
this is because of COVID.
Because of COVID, and that Andrew wouldn't be allowed to go up until I was actually admitted, right?
Yeah, so she would have to have her own room, and then I would go up into her room.
Yes. But when we got to the hospital, that volunteer got flustered because I saw right behind me there was another couple who was kind of in like a semi-emergency case. I don't know, maybe he broke his leg or something. So he got flustered of like what to do. So he was like, okay, you guys just like go upstairs. I was in a wheelchair.
So I took her up.
Yeah, so he took me up, which is really nice, to be honest.
Yeah, but then I got kicked out, so I had to go down by myself.
Yeah, so like we got up and they're like, you're not to Andrew, you're not supposed to be here. Go back down.
I was like, oh, sorry.
Okay, so I was just like waiting in this hallway in a wheelchair by myself.
Yeah.
And again, like,
legit in a hallway by herself. I wasn't allowed to stay in the hallway by herself.
And I was still, laboring.
Yeah,
it wasn't that
by herself.
Honestly, it wasn't that bad looking back on it. Like, I was just sitting there with my head down like this, and every time, it was
that's
not
you
that bad.
though.
Yeah, so I don't know. Okay, so then a nurse comes and she brings me to her room and checks me down there to see my dilation, and she goes like, oh, you're 9 centimeters dilated. And I just remember being super like conscious and like lucid and being like, what? Like, I'm 9 centimeters? I was expecting to hear like 3 or 4 or 5. And she was like, yeah, I'm pretty surprised too. You seem so calm. And I was like, okay, great.
Great.
So I guess, we were ready to do this. So she makes me walk to this other room. I don't know why she didn't put me in a wheelchair, because I was like, I'm gonna walk.
You arrived in a wheelchair?
Yeah, I don't know why.
What happened to the wheelchair?
I don't know. She was just like, okay, let's go to the other room now. And I was like, oh, I need to walk all the way over there? Okay. And in that meantime, like, they call Andrew back up. So he goes down to the car and you like...
Yeah, if you're a nurse, wheel your pregnant patients around.
Yeah, because what actually happened was like we were walking from room A to room B, like my actual delivery room, and I remember like halfway she was like, don't push, we're not ready for you yet. But like halfway I have another contraction and I'm like, can I hold your hand? I just need to like crouch down on the floor and have this contraction. That's literally what I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I was like...
You tell me that.
Well, I don't know, it's like small details.
I'm still learning about our birth story right now.
Yeah, I was like, I need, can I just hold your hand? And she's like, okay.
Okay.
So, I remember going into the room and I'm like, can I go to the bathroom?
Anyways, you got a room and then they called me back in.
Yeah, and they're like, don't push. So apparently that whole time for the past like several hours that I felt like I needed to go to the bathroom and like poo or pee, like that was the feeling of pushing. So I was probably ready to push by like 7 or 8 a.m. I'm not really sure.
I just want to mention, I wanted to film this whole process, but we didn't have any footage. We didn't even have the camera, to be honest, so it's fine. But when I was going to record on my phone, they said I couldn't film. So I don't know how all those YouTubers film their birth process, but I'm going to try again if we have another baby. So if we have another baby, there'll be some footage of that.
Maybe. So... yeah, Andrew comes back up and, by then I was already like pushing basically.
You weren't pushing yet. There was just one nurse there. And you're just talking and checking.
Oh, we were just talking. Okay, we were just talking.
Anyways.
And then they were like, okay, we're ready for you to push now. So one thing that happened is that, before I would be tested for like a bacteria, group B strep, and, I was positive for that. So routinely they would have given me a antibiotic intravenous a couple hours before delivering the baby. If you're a nurse or like OB, you can confirm that or deny that. I'm not entirely sure. I'm just saying from what I've heard from our experience. But because I came to the hospital so late, they weren't able to give me that IV. So I wasn't able to have the antibiotic. But everything was fine. It's just that, like, it meant I had to stay overnight so that they could monitor me and the baby mainly to see if everything was okay. Yeah, so pushing happened, and Andrew would just feed me ice chips and frozen
between
grapes.
contractions, we brought grapes. So between contractions, I would give her some crushed ice and some grapes.
And honestly, that is very needed because it feels like, I don't even know how to equate that, but like you're doing some intense exercise, and so like between every contraction, I would feel super dehydrated and like I would need water. But like you can't really drink a cold glass of water. You need therefore ice chips. Yeah.
I mean, they have that. So.
Yeah, so they had that.
Ice chips is what I meant.
Yeah, ice chips. So I pushed for about 40 minutes, and I remember by then the OB was like, oh, you know, like I could give you a little episiotomy because it's a little bit tight down there, and it could help. She didn't really pressure me, she just gave me the option, which I'm really thankful for. And I just remember going like, no, let's just wait a little bit. And then so after maybe about like 5 or 10 minutes, maybe 10 or 15 minutes of pushing again, she was like, oh, are you sure you don't want it? Again, I didn't feel super pressured. She was just offering it. But by then I was like, no, I know I can do this. Let me just push really hard. So I remember just like pushing extra hard, even between my contractions. I'm not really sure if you're supposed to do that, but I was just like, let me just push really hard.
I think that's how you tear.
I don't know. Anyway, it got the baby out. So the baby came out, and
it was a fast one.
Yeah, so I labored in the hospital, or I was admitted in the hospital for less than an hour.
It was 56 minutes.
Yeah, and the baby came out.
From the time that her membrane was ruptured until baby was out.
Yeah, so that's right. So they actually broke my water for me. So, you know, the whole time laboring at home, my water never broke.
Baby came in at 7 pounds and 1 ounce.
Yeah.
But we think he was measured incorrectly.
Oh,
why do we think that?
Oh no, the length was measured.
Yeah, sorry, the length was measured incorrectly.
Because they measured him to be like 16 centimeters, and no baby's that small. It's like off the charts.
Way too small.
Yeah, it's off the charts small, and he's not that small.
16 centimeters.
Okay, I don't know. Anyway, Andrew saw the placenta. How did you feel about? Oh, yeah. How was that?
The tube kind of feels. I don't know if anyone's ever had a beef tendon, but cutting through the tube kind of felt like that. The umbilical cord.
Interesting.
Yeah, it felt really fake. It felt like a piece of silicone or something.
Yeah, definitely thicker than I would have.
And then I wondered, like, no one prepped me for this. So, like, if I don't cut it straight, does that mean it doesn't heal straight, or it influences if you have an innie or an outie?
I don't think so.
But I don't think it does. That's just what went through my mind when I cut it.
You're like, he's gonna be an
like,
innie.
I'm like, I want to cut it, and they're like, it was crooked.
Oh no, I did it wrong.
He's gonna...
My one
Not that
job.
an innie or outie is like a bad thing. I was just wondering.
So.
The placenta, I didn't feel anything about that.
Oh, it was just really bloody, right? Like a sack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looked like.
Well, okay, so before the placenta comes out, they would the baby comes out, and the nurse would kind of massage my abdomen to help the placenta come out. And by then I was like, ow, that hurt. Like, not that the birth didn't hurt, but I was like, the baby's out. Why do I need to endure even more pain? So I remember thinking that, and then anyway, placenta came out, and then I just remember after that, I had like the shakes, which was like I just started shaking uncontrollably and like really cold, and so that's mainly from the loss of blood, right? I didn't lose that much blood, but I guess still.
I mean, the hospital had extra blankets and stuff.
Yeah, so and it only was for a couple minutes, like maybe 15 minutes. I took some painkillers. My first painkillers in the whole process was then.
Yeah, you didn't take an epidural or anything.
Yeah, I mean by the time I got
fully natural birth.
Yeah, by the time I got to the hospital, there was no point in taking an epidural, right? Because it was so close to delivery. So Andrew, who was the first person you talked to after Caspian was born?
So I don't remember what steps happened or what the correct order of steps happened, but I think the baby was out and you were kind of just resting, and I was just sitting there. So let me just reply some messages. And normally, after the birth, you're excited, you want to share it with your family and your friends. I think I think we did share a picture with our family. I know we did share a picture with our family for sure. But then it was actually my pastor that I ended up calling.
Okay, hold on a
because
second.
I was
No,
following
no, no.
up on something.
We shared the picture after our pastor called.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I was following up something with my pastor, so we
And
video
totally
called. And he was like,
unrelated.
what are you up to? I'm like, oh, well, let me tell you. Well, my wife just gave birth.
Like literally 10 minutes
yeah.
ago. So that's funny.
Yeah.
Because we didn't talk. Yeah, anyway. And then after that, I remember having some lunch.
Yeah, the food at the hospital was actually pretty good. I think we got a hot soup, a tuna sandwich, some fruits and bread, some snacks.
Well, it was kind of normal.
I thought it was above average. Like it was like
I think he just had really low expectations.
I don't know. Hospital food is always depicted as like stale pudding and Jello, and you get a crusty piece of toast or something.
Okay.
Like it felt like a Tim Hortons meal.
Okay.
Like a soup and sandwich.
Okay. Yeah. So after that, I rested for a bit. I remember by then it was like 2 p.m. So, I gave birth at 11 a.m. And it was by then 2 p.m. I had a nap and Andrew was hanging out with me and the baby. He held the baby for a bit. And
I think we just were waiting until her vitals were stable. And then...
No. It was until the room was ready, basically.
Oh, the room was ready?
Yeah.
And then I got kicked out.
Yeah, so then he got kicked out, so it was just me and the baby. We stayed overnight at the hospital.
I think if you reserved a private room, I could have stayed overnight.
Yeah, something
that
like
was
that.
like $400 or something. So we opted out of that.
Yeah, and it's fine. It was like a nice time with just me and
But
the
I think
baby.
if COVID's over, I can just stay with you.
I think so. Yeah. But we have a couple questions for each other before we end.
Yeah, just for something fun. So let's see. My question for you is, do you feel like having a baby during a global pandemic changed the experience significantly?
Well, I think the main thing is that we're only allowed to have one person, right? But I don't think it changed that significantly for myself because I would have wanted just Andrew to be there anyway, I think. One thing that I want to talk about is that because Andrew was the only person and we couldn't have like a doula or anything, I made sure that he was prepared to know what to do as my birth partner. So before giving birth, I made a whole binder of stuff that he should know. And he would have this during the whole process.
I got my diploma, everybody.
So I remember I
was studying it between
mid pushing, he whips out this.
What's on page 6?
No. He whips out this binder, and the nurses were like, "Are you the doula?" I'm like, No. He's just.
I looked good.
He's like, let me check.
Everything.
So yeah, I have like.
She actually told me to put that away at one point.
The nurse or me?
The nurse.
Oh, okay, yeah, because then it's like in the way. But it just had like descriptions of the different phases of labor so that he knows at what phase I'm at, breathing techniques and like things that he could say to help encourage me at different points. But again, I didn't need him to say anything, right?
Very helpful.
And then also acupoints that he could use, birthing positions that he can help me with.
Birthing prompts.
But I'm glad I had this prepared and he had this in hand. It made me feel better.
The best thing was the grapes.
But we really didn't need it just because of how quickly things went and how smoothly things went.
Or it's because of how well I comforted her.
Okay, so my question for you is, a lot of dads share that they feel like really helpless during the whole process. Did you feel that way, and why not, or why yes?
This is just in the hospital?
No, just like the whole process.
Of being pregnant?
No, well, of the delivery.
Of the delivery. Did I feel helpless? No, I don't think I felt helpless. I mean, I felt helpless when I couldn't make my breakfast. I felt pretty useless there. Like, I just want to eat breakfast, but I can't make any noise, so... And, like, I'm not a loud person, so I
No, it's just like a rustling of
can't even rustle a bag of bread.
Yeah.
Like, can't do anything. I mean, I could still support you through your... Yeah, the whole process. I feel like I could support you still.
Okay.
I could encourage you. I feel like emotional support is as important as physical support. I think that's the job of the husband. Like the job of the husband, or the husband has the opportunity to relieve the burden of carrying the baby through the whole process by making it easier, mentally and emotionally. So I definitely don't feel helpless.
Yeah. Or whoever you're...
I mean, I know I can't push, but hey, I mean, like I said earlier, the grapes were king.
Yeah.
And if there was no me, there was no grapes. So I was useful.
Okay, sure. So even though we had a super smooth birth, I would say that one regret would be just that if I went to the hospital a little bit earlier, I could have gotten that antibiotic and I might have been able to qualify for that early departure.
Yeah, like she could have been discharged if she
earlier.
had it in time. But because she came in and delivered so quickly,
We had to be staying overnight.
They needed to monitor.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, if you could do it again, how would you know to have gone in earlier?
No way. I'm just saying, if I could have to choose one regret, that would be the thing. Yeah, so that's our story. I just want to say for everyone who is preparing and looking forward to deliver their baby, I wish all the best for you, and I hope that like a positive story would be a good change around here, because I know we hear a lot of like difficult birth stories often, but I just want to say like your body knows how to do this. It was like made to do this. We have all the natural processes for it.
Yeah.
So kind of
what
like
a miracle.
kind of believe in that. Prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. You know, that's why I made that binder.
Bring grapes.
Bring grapes, and you can do this. I felt so empowered after my birth. Like I went through that, so now I can do anything. So I hope you feel the same way, regardless of how it goes. Yeah. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll chat again next time. Bye.
Bye.